bluff, so I definitely need to size down. When you have very little bluffs, you want to size down because you can fit in all of your bluffs with your value range comfortably without a big bet size.
I had been banding about in my mind over creating a really long form vlog for this World Series.
We have a Bundesliga professional footballer in there. I'm not going to say any more, but he plays in the Bundesliga.
I mean, the last tournament I played was the £1 million buy-in that in London. And,
it's about looking at the data and the stats.
Okay, so there's a guy who aspires to be a fighter pilot, right? But he has this one issue. His thumb is stuck pointing straight up.
Influencers are doing the exact same, with the exception of exactly the vloggers. And look at what they've managed to accomplish.
Howdy guys, it's Sunday night. Of course it is 10 o'clock. It's the APAT show. Leigh, I know you're going to share the link from the page to the group. But before you do that, we're not alone tonight. We're going to glorify in Scotland's magnificent win in the team championship at the WCOAP with the one and only. Tell us who we've got.
Well, we've got an absolute APAT stalwart, a multi-world champion, but of course the most recent success in Nottingham, as you say, skippering the Scottish side. So a warm welcome to Ben Burnhill. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Oh, hey guys.
Evening, Ben. How are you, my friend? It's like looking in a mirror. It's like looking in a mirror, Leigh. What is going on there?
Confuse people. Like, they're just going to be, my thing's broken again. There's too many people on the screen. Like, Des is just doing his mirror image thing again. So
it doesn't make any sense. I don't see it myself, Ben. I don't see it myself. I don't know.
I don't
how
get
you
it.
could see it.
We go through this every time, and then everyone's like, "Oh, nepotism." The only way to get on the show is pure nepotism, you know.
Well, I tell you, Ben, if nothing else, if absolutely nothing else, what you're going to bring to the show tonight is a bloody good haircut. Impressive effort, my man. Impressive effort. If I remember correctly, the last time you were on was probably deep into lockdown. Did we have you in Vision? I can't remember.
No, I think this was old. Yeah, it was like through a Facebook
the audio
chat,
thing,
and like
right?
it was proper old school.
You almost certainly had hair down to your shoulders, like the rest of us. Does anybody remember Leigh's curtains?
Well, you do, because you play the video at the start of the show each
there you
week.
go.
Just got clips of it. Yeah, I look at it and go, what was that all about? Yeah.
It's like the parting of the Red Sea.
I mean, it's been difficult because I did say to Ben earlier on the week, I said, "Don't worry," I said, "I'll get one of the regular, show guys on as well. We'll get." And then I started working through this. Paul Hay. No, we can't get Paul Haycock on. That's not going to work. We'll get Tom Bacon on. No, we can't get Tom Bacon on. Haven't had Gaz on for a while. No, Gaz isn't. That's not going to work either. They thought Wigglesworth. Actually, we'll get. Oh no, we can't get Wigglesworth either, can we? It's just so because I knew what they were all going to say. Like, nah, sorry, I'm washing my hair Sunday night. Can't do it. So.
Oh, an absolute nightmare. So you've brought the poor lad on, right? You've immediately told him he was like 12th in the line. It's unbelievable.
No. He's the star of the show. It's just we were just obviously the England players. I just got messages of too soon. Too soon. Don't really want to.
I get it.
Don't really fancy it yet. It's a little bit.
But yeah, give it a couple months, something like that. You know, we're still recovering. You know, like.
So I guess that's going to be the early topic of discussion, and we're going to move on to that in just a couple of minutes. But before we do, Leigh, why don't you tell the guys what everyone is playing tonight?
Yeah, so it's the usual end to the week for APAT. It's week 67 of Leaderboard Ladders after our little bit of a break. Deep Stack didn't run 5 o'clock tonight, Des. Very rarely does this is this the case, but the sun was shining. I reckon everybody was out enjoying themselves on a Sunday afternoon or something along those lines. Anyway, so yeah, so that one unfortunately didn't run. I had a message from Pete Wigglesworth saying, "Is there a problem? I can't seem to get it on my phone." I said, "Well." I had a quick look and went, sorry, it's not running this week. But yes, Leaderboard Ladders is back for another week. Top of the leaderboard going into this Sunday was Petr Taborski from the Czech Republic. Had 4 caches, a couple of good ones last night, actually, which has jumped him over Dylan Herbert, who I gave a little bit of a dig to last week because I started Leaderboard Ladders back a week early at his request, and then he never showed up for the week. Well, he has showed up this week, and he's had a couple of caches. He's second on the leaderboard going into this Sunday, so it's all well and good. So yeah, what the guys are playing, we've already got a final table going in the No Limit Hold'em main event. 57 runners in that, so there's 7 of them remaining. A couple of names we'll recognize on that final table. Chip leader at the moment is Andre 10. Well, Andre smashed Leaderboard Ladders 2 weeks ago.
It's some week. He had some
just
week.
like, is it 7 caches or something like that? Absolutely
smashed
insane.
it.
Our friend from Kazakhstan, he's had an APAT medal as well, hasn't he? Won one of them in the WCOAP online.
He did last year.
We shipped a medal out to him, so he's in there. Adam Bromley, second best player in the Bromley household, has made it through to this final table as well. He's 4th in chips as well. Petr Sladik from the Czech Republic is in there as well. So, and who else have we got? Joseph Mikulic from Germany, also Juri Jepsen from Germany as well, and Sergio Gomez from Argentina makes up the final one of those. PLO just got over the guarantee in that. We're down to 6. It's paying top 5, so they're on a final table. Pontus Dahlgren from Sweden, again regular player with APATs there, as is Maximilian Schneider, who's the chip leader at the moment in that one. And the Turbo just missed the guarantee tonight, so I reckon it must be the sunshine that's got to everybody on this
it's
Sunday.
August. They're all on holiday, Lee.
That's what they're all doing. Well, we've got 46 runners in that. We're down to 21 at the moment. It's paying top 9, so we will keep an eye on it. But they are all chasing Petr Taborski from the Czech Republic. Can't see Dylan playing tonight. So really, it's going to be either somebody coming out of nowhere to do this. Otherwise, it could be Petr's for the win tonight.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Lee. Well, listen, there is a bunch of you out there, so say hello in the chat box, right? If you say hello, we can put it up on screen, and if nothing else, we can laugh at you, right? We can laugh at you, we can laugh with you, maybe not necessarily in that order, we'll have to wait and see, but I can tell you that Don Logan is out there. Lovely to have Don back on again this evening. Peter Wigglesworth is out there. It's some form of penance because he knows the abuse is coming. He's just going to wait for it to come when we start to talk about the WCOAP Team Championship. Ian Eyre is out there. Listen, the Warden of the Northeast is in hospital, and I don't know why. And I think he's recovering, and that's good. But he dropped me a message just before we went live and said, "Yeah, I'm in the old hospital. So hope you're well, me old mucker. Let us know what's wrong. We want to hear. But above all else, we all hope you're on the road back to recovery." Lou Brush, Shug, our hero, one of our heroes from Vegas, is out there. Good to see you in there, Shug. Ashley Dakin is there. Eddie Niascu, of course. I still remember Eddie in that video. We'll show it again tonight. We have to show it again tonight at the WCOAP when Dan Austin is playing that final hand and he's like chewing his fingers. Looks scared to the bone. One Andre Tin, Lee, your hero and mine from last week, Kazakhstan's finest, is out there as well. It's good to see you in the stream, Andre. Paul Haycock is there. And I've got to say, guys, let's just flag this up. It'll never not be too soon. And of course, he's talking about Ben, referencing the World Championship of Amateur Poker. I'm sorry, Paul. You're just going to have to sit back and take it tonight, my friend. Dale Osborne is there. Graham McGuire is there. Gary McBride is there. And Don of Peak Too Soon, top of Fantasy, Lee.
I was going to say, we will come back to Don Logan later on in the show, definitely, because they've just finished updating the Fantasy leaderboard for game week 1, and Mr. Logan with his team 6 times is currently top. I'll be able to bring his team up on the screen so we can have a chat quickly through his team later on in the show. But we will do that. So yes, Don, don't go away, because we will be critiquing. Is that the way we're going to describe it?
I think you can critique the team that is leading our league. How many teams did you get in the end, Leigh?
Well, I've left it open for a couple of weeks. Partly because I'm not sure whether there's a Des Duffy team actually being
not in there
yet. So,
but Bolts and Wanderers normally make an appearance. We're typically a little late into the points, but I will get in.
So what I'll do is I will leave it open for league entries just for a couple of weeks, maybe to get the last few stragglers in that are already in, and then we'll close it off and we'll be good. But it's over. I think it's heading up towards 150. It's certainly over 130 now. So.
Fantastic. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's amazing. Can I say that on the air? I think I can.
You just did.
Airsy's come back. Airsy's come back. He says he is in the best place. So listen, that's good news, Ian. Get your feet up, lad. Just enjoy it. If nothing else, it's a little while away from everything else. Not a bad thing. And Don gives us a little clue as to his team. He says no manure, obviously, and given Man United's result today, Leigh, which must have been a grave concern to you.
Sorry, the what?
Yeah, you know.
It's only pre-season. It's okay.
Just a kickabout in the park.
Yeah, no. I watched the game. It's the first one that the MUTV haven't had, so I managed to watch it. But I mean, from what I saw of the 90 minutes, clearly was pre-season. 100% was a pre. Oh, they weren't taking it seriously. I mean, the opposition were. I mean, they were well up for it, but we were waiting for the big kickoff, which is, when's that? A couple of weeks' time?
I think it's still it's about 12 months away for your lot. I had to laugh at Harry Maguire coming out afterwards and saying we've got to tighten up the defense. Come on, guys, tighten up, and I'm thinking, really?
Yeah, that's really? That's you, Harry. That's your job. Yeah.
Exactly. Detail. Eddie is there. Good evening, guys. Congrats, Ben. So big up, Ben. Let's start there. Ben, listen, before we get any words out of you, I'm going to run this little video because, I just think it's a great reminder of where we were a few weeks back. So if I can find the thing here in my screen, that is exactly what we shall do. We shall rerun it. Here we go. He said, hopefully. There we go. Got to bring back some spectacular memories, does it not, Ben?
That was all very good. Yeah, I remember the pocket cam you had with Chaz with his pocket aces.
That's
and
right.
then he decides to look over at you to make sure that you've captured that, you've got that, and then min clicks just to a table of holds there afterwards.
I
And
tell
it's
you,
like,
it
how do they
was
know? How do
it
they
was
know?
just so it was just so funny. So obviously, you know, it takes about 2 minutes to put the camera on the table and say, "Hey, you know, you okay for me to run this, Charlie? You know, you okay for me to do this?" And he would go, "Yeah, that's fine. You know, that's fine." So I run back to the table just to see the squeeze on his first hand, and he squeezes aces. And I swear to God, I'm thinking, "Great, this is amazing." And I look over at him, and he just flushes up, and he looks at me with a wide-eyed sort of stare, and I'm thinking, "Oh, that isn't going to work at all." And it was just fold. It was just hilarious. But detail. Listen.
Yeah, it would be great if he was pulling off a bluff and then just like, yeah, you caught this with the 7-2, and then with the beaming smile. But
Listen, Charlie Kearns was one of your team. Why don't you talk us through your team? Tell us what the boys brought over the couple of days, and just give us your little rundown on leading Scotland to winning a World Amateur Team title.
so this is I ran a team when we went to Prague for the Europeans, and then picked some guys for that. But this was the first time running for the Worlds. Obviously, I was supposed to pick it up. What was that? 2019. But obviously,
That's right,
we got hit with COVID, and then we had to put like a bar on that one. So I picked these guys like ahead of time. My theory going into it was like I wanted to get like an old school like APAT player, which was Chaz. He'd been like, he's APAT through and through, and he was there kind of like when I first started up as well. That was like when me, Naz, and Chris Kelly started playing. And then I picked Naz as well because he'd played for Scotland before when we went down to Stoke. It was like one of the home nation games.
That's right.
And he's just like old school grinder, you know, can noise people up and, you know, get them. And he won his heads up in like 3 hands, I think it was, against Stu Ward's brother, just by winding him up. So that's always great to have in your team. And then Blair was he's new to APAT, so I met him when we went to the Vegas package. We won like a Vegas package with the Maybury guys back in the day. So we both won a package to that, and then went to Vegas. I think it was 6 years ago. And I think the day 3 in like the 7-day Colossus thing that was playing through there. So, and he played a couple of APATs after that. So I wanted to just bring in someone new who's like, you know, done a couple of APATs and can hold their own as well. And yeah, they all managed to do that. They all managed to like bring their own little thing to the table, and then we all managed to score points collectively. And then Blair knocked me out in the final table of the MTT. But I'm not bitter about it. Like I've gotten over that by now. But you know,
well, listen,
it might cause problems next year for the team pick. But I'm just we'll worry about that later.
I think he's a fairly safe shoe in to captain again next season. Wouldn't you say so, Leigh?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Won't be a problem at all.
Oh,
you get to defend.
I mean, you got one defense. Like that seems fair. And then,
I mean, I've looked at the list, the short list. It's it's a very short list. Yeah, it's
so
as is always the way. We always say captains always quite rightly get to defend their title and give it another go. I guess the question is and it's always a how can you not then pick the same team, you know, barring everybody being available. You just go again and give them a chance, isn't it?
I mean, that's it. I think you're entitled to one defense and then like bring it back again, and then you want to try and mix it up and get some new folk, get new blood in there and stuff like that as well. I mean, I think I was kind of like talking to Paul about this as well, because like they always kind of like have new folk in, and they're always trying to like bring few folk into their team, and then there's a few countries are maybe a bit limited by people. Like a lot of times Scotland's had like the same kind of few players kind of coming in with like trying to mix it up now and again, but we've got a kind of core fundamental APAT group that can come in. But part of this is like trying to bring new people in, show them what they can kind of achieve, and hopefully go on and play more games as well, and then they'll be back as well to play other stuff and play side events and run deep as well.
So fantastic. So with that said, which one of them are you going to drop next season?
Yeah,
we'd just love to know. We'd love to know.
I've got to see like the bribes that come in, see who's gonna like, bring the most to the table that way, and then decide after that.
I mean, it's very decent of you. You could have just said Naz.
I mean,
you could have just said that. I mean, yeah, we all know.
I mean, I don't want to go for the low hanging fruit, but it's
yeah.
Oh, detail. Listen, I made the colossal. I'll take this on the chin. I made the colossal mistake of saying in one of our streams, as we neared I want to say we just hit 2 tables. England had 4 players left. You had 3 players left. They had additional points on you in the board. I made the colossal mistake of saying, I think this is done. I can't see how England don't go on to win from here with 4 players. Without necessarily knowing exactly the stack sizes of every, it was probably a mistake in hindsight.
It wasn't picked up at all and like made it a bit more personal that we had to kind of bring it a bit more. And the English bias of having 4 players in is normally a wrap. And, normally, it depends on chip stacks and stuff like that. I mean, won't admit that, I think because Chaz went out, I think he went out 16th, 15th or something like that. So I think it must have just gone that kind of stage before, and then England were 4 and then we were 3. And then obviously, they've got the advantage and it's theirs to lose after that. But we managed to bring it back. I mean, Paul was doing his thing, like just staying out of trouble, staying out of hands and grinding away. And then my key concern was like, I think, England had their other 3 players on the table with just Naz. So with those, it was just, if they're all gunning for him, can he just do his usual lucky thing and just stay alive, which, he managed to pull off. So props to him on that. And I think, when Paul was in, I think the entire table called just to try and knock him out.
So it sounds to me, Ben, no matter how we picked up the story sort of at that particular point in the tournament, you had your eyes on everything that was going on with your team and with the English team. And presumably at no point did you feel this is getting away. It was just about, keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't think there was any kind of, because that's it. It's like the thing with the MTT is like it's point heavy, because like one person goes out, you automatically jump up 3 points for every person that goes out thereafter. So it's you really can't kind of call it. And then I don't know the kind of strat. Like I was kind of talking to a couple of people about kind of different strategies. Do you start blitzing it then and tell your guys just to kind of like just go raise crazy and then just start like applying pressure, because then at least you're gonna go big or go home? Or is it just like grind it down and then hold out for those kind of small blinds? So we were kind of chatting back and forth, like trying to like see how comfortable people were, making sure they weren't kind of like feeling too worried, like if certain people were applying pressure on them, if they needed to open ranges up a bit more or something like that. But these guys are know what they're doing, and we definitely had I think 2 lucky breaks which kind of kept us alive in it. But that's poker though. If you get to a final table and you haven't had a lucky hand in that entire time, then
to be honest, the English team have talked us through those hands several times. We've heard of those in detail.
So you get the standard, like, if you didn't get that runner, then that's your entire title over.
But Ben, I know you're into your kind of strategy games, kind of gaming in general, and it isn't just a case of turning up as a captaining a side in this and just going, we'll just go and play some poker and see what happens, guys. There is strategy, isn't there? There is thought processes behind how you're going to play. Going into that MTT, what did you say to the guys?
It's like we wanted to basically, because you don't want to like target certain players, because the thing is, going into it as well, I thought it was quite good because England were top of the board as well, and we were just, I think, 4 or 5 points behind them. So I felt that kind of like took a lot of like focus off of us as well, because people are going to like automatically go for the top team and like focus on them and not worry about like any of the other ones as well. But yeah, my approach was the guys was just like, yeah, you need to be a bit more. Don't worry too much about the points early on because everybody's going to be doing that. And then the key to like poker is you always want to play the opposite of like what everybody else at the table's doing. You know, if everyone's playing tight, you play loose. If everyone's playing loose, you tighten up. So, you know, I've told them that you can afford to splash around a lot in the beginning, and then also that gives them a bit of fear as well because they're worried about these guys are just playing way too much and stuff like that. So hoping that hopefully changes the dynamic a wee bit. But no, I mean, I think that's as much as a vague strategy as we can kind of go in with. But then you just have to be able to adapt as the tables start breaking and people are getting moved out, and when players are knocked out, and then what does that mean to you? Because I think the first couple of teams that went out was like Netherlands and Ireland, so it's like messaging the guys, right? Okay, I don't think that doesn't really impact us too much. We're kind of really worried about the kind of, I think it was like England, Portugal, and I can't remember, there was like another third team that was kind of like in the top running because we were all quite closely bracketed at the top
I want to say
before
Canada.
going into the MTT. Was it Canada? Because I remember one of them made a massive was it Canada made a
Canada
massive,
came from
they came
from
right
nowhere.
they came right from the bottom, I think, because they got two guys
at the end of phase 3. It was yourselves, England, Portugal, and I guess Northern Ireland were probably there. Romania was still in the mix as well at that point.
Yeah, because that was it. Yeah, because I had Eddie on my left as well, and he was just punishing me every time I like tried to make any kind of blind steal or anything like that. But apparently they were all legitimate, like as fight backs. But he just always seen the hand of it. That was most frustrating. But then you just need to get out your head that point and make sure you're not.
Listen, you're getting some love in the chat box, Ben. Triplin is there. Evening, guys. Burnhill on, and yes, Scotland have always been lucky. I think Tomo is giving up Naz. I think Naz is definitely being sent to the sideline cerebral. And Mr. Wigglesworth is saying two lucky hands, I think is what he's referring to there. Yeah, getting it all. So in hindsight, Ben, and to be honest, you guys went on and win it. So I don't even know, think you need any hindsight. But in hindsight, would you have done anything different at any point, particularly late on in the MTT?
No, I mean, that's it. It's like, late on in the MTT, I think, no, I don't think so. I don't think, I think everybody made the moves they needed to do. I mean, the couple of hands we got lucky on with like, Blair got like runner, and I think Naz hit some 2-out or something like that. But they were all kind of situational. They were all kind of like, you were going to have to shove that ace queen there, or you were going to have to shove, can't remember what Naz had, but he needed some like ridiculous 9 2-out or something like that to stay alive. But all those kind of situational plays that those people were in, all kind of made sense. And I don't think we could have faulted them for doing anything different on that one.
Can't argue it. And tell me, how was the rest of the series for you, Ben and the boys?
Oh, well, I mean, after we kind of celebrated the rest of that evening, which I think was a tactical play just to try and get us out of the rest of the tournament. But that was a kind of late night, and then just go straight into the main and play 10 hours the next day. I mean, what could go wrong? I think I played 4 hands in that 10-hour period that I can remember. The rest of the time I was trying to grab micro naps and just like chugging coffee to try and stay alive. But it was a good strategical play. I think it was apple tequila or something like that. It was something weird, something like someone kept insisting that we had. But that was a good night. And then the series, we did the main event, got through to day 2. That was quite good. I was on the Scouses table for the last like 2 hours, and we had a good chat and like good laugh on that table going back and forth. Then the next day was side events. We had a tag team, and then it was me and Naz did a tag team, and we had Scouse and Dan on our left. So we were just switching back and forth each hand, and they decided to do the same thing just to kind of wind folk up, which was, standard APAT stuff, It's like the Max. I don't think I definitely got a bad beating against Wigglesworth on that one. Always good, you got the implied tilt odds there as well when you get it in bad with a pocket pair, so that's
Oh,
That's always a
fantastic.
good one. And then yeah, main event. I mean, main event was quite good on day 2. We ran, I think I ran down a 16th on that one. Like in the end, that was it was a hard slog, but yeah, you got to win your flips. Apparently, that's
That's
the
pretty
key
key.
to winning these things.
That's
you know?
what. Who did you play with? Did you play with Dan or Simao
No, I
or any of
think
the guys
no,
that
I
went deep?
Yeah, I missed Dan the entire. The guy who came second. Oh man, I can't remember his name now. The Portuguese guy that
Now
came.
from Portugal,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he was on my. I kept running into him on different tables, and he was like tough during the team event as well. So we'd had a lot of kind of like back and forth about like how we played different stuff and like chats back and forth because he was big blind when I was the button a lot of the time. So I kept like trying to run over him and he kept fighting back, and then we kept leveling each other. So yeah, that was a good. Yeah, I had a good back and forth with him. Yeah, I've missed all. Yeah, Dan. I had Paul Haycock was on my table for a couple of times when we got down the last 4 tables. But yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it was just as a table broke, he came on, and then we got moved again, and then he came back again. But then I think he was off after.
Yeah, the team
4 hours.
players had a really good run in the main event.
Oh,
I don't
they
know
did,
whether I
didn't they?
can quite remember that many of the team players making day 2 of a main. It was quite extraordinary.
Yeah, yeah, because Chaz, me, Naz, and Chaz all played day 1, and I think Naz was 1 away from the bubble of making day 2, and Chaz made it through with a short stack. But yeah, Naz was close to making day 2, and then Blair played the subsequent day, but didn't make it into the day 2.
But of course, everyone wants to know, Ben, who disgraced themselves in the foot golf. Yeah, that's what we want
Oh,
to
that
know.
was horrendous. That was like the best idea that we had for a warm up for going into day 2. Like, yeah, Dan was just taking that so seriously that, like, because we're playing for a tenner, but like, you would think it was 10 grand or something like that we're playing for, and just every miss, and then yeah, Stefan was like, yeah, had it solid. Like, I think he got like 4 or 5 holes in ones, but we were doing a 10-point penalty if you went out of bounds. So he went out of bounds like 5 times as well. So it was just like, just to like balance it out. I don't know if it was just to like, he was humoring us to begin with, and then just as like, I'll knock a couple out of bounds just to make it a challenge. But yeah, that was a good warm up. Just
So Stefan's a bit of a player then.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I think it was supposed to be a hustle, but then it's it kind of backfired with a couple of out of bounds shots. But like without those out of bounds shots, yeah, he could have definitely cleaned up on that one. But yeah, it's just around the corner from Dusk Till Dawn, like a wee outside mini golf thing.
Again, it's a bit of a sore subject, mini golf at the Worlds. We don't talk too much about it, but I thought I'd mention it anyway just to find out how you got on. Yeah,
Just careful where you go, Leigh. There's a lot of abuse to be had over the missed mini golf series, but it's not just about the poker, is it? It's very much about the getting back in touch with the community. It's about the bar. It's about the soggy breakfasts first thing in the morning, wherever they might be, and whatever time the morning actually turns out to be. In addition to the poker, so did it take you a day or two to recover, Ben, or were you back up to speed pretty quickly?
Oh well, I mean that was it because I was feeling kind of rough after after that first night, but then it was just like I was wondering maybe I'm just getting too old for this. I don't know. It's like I mean maybe I can't just do 4 a.m. 5 a.m. finishes, get up, have breakfast, and go straight onto a table and play 10 hours of poker. But then I found out that like everybody was getting COVID after the event. So I don't know if maybe that was a contributing factor. I'm holding on to that as like a kind of hope that I'm not just getting too old for this. It was just COVID was weighing me down during that like session. And so I can put down all my kind of bad beats down to that as well. But
are you saying you're patient zero? Is that what you're saying?
Sounds like he's
patient
zero. He's giving it to goddamn everybody, Leigh, by the sound of it.
I'm not taking claim to that. It's probably no, it couldn't have been no, it couldn't have been Naz. No, I think Naz tested negative. Daniel, yeah, because Daniel messaged us to say.
OMG.
Yeah, it was Daniel that was staying with us, and then just for one night, and then he messaged the group to say that he was positive, but then the rest of them all tested negative except me. So blame him.
Well, considering the amount of people that hugged Dan Austin that weekend, and
True.
he said he tested negative as well, so it really is random.
That's
You
it.
never
Yeah,
know.
it's just my run. My run good is that good that I could just
Yeah.
manage to get it as well a second time.
You never know. Listen, Baza, Mr. Cullen is out there. Evening, guys. Evening to you, Barry. And a special message for you once again. He's not happy. He's not happy. So
I mean, I've never been too outed in my life yet. I'm hoping to experience it at some point, like some sort of like bad beat. I don't know. I just never had them before, but I only seem to dish them out. So.
Well, listen, it sounds like you had a great spin at WCOAP. So, well done for that, Ben. Hope you really enjoyed it. We're going to do that again sometime. And I think you and the team should be looking forward to it. I would imagine going off to defend a title is pretty spectacular. And in fact, the last and only time that England have won the WCOAP Team Championship was back in 2013. Steve Redfern was the captain. They needed an incredible team around him. But I think we changed the rules the following year, and we reduced down from having teams of 5 to teams of 4. And we obviously offered Steve the chance to recaptain. He just couldn't reconcile dropping one of the guys or picking a new team. And he
Which
passed,
is extraordinary when you think
passed over on the honor.
Stu was in that
Exactly,
team.
it's a gift. Just
expel
expel him. You're out. You're gone, kid. You're not good enough.
And we should say actually congratulate. Well, I think congratulations to Stu. No one's actually heard from him, but he gave probably one of the best reasons for not joining us on the show tonight as a guest, because he said today was the day that apparently his cricket team are due to win the league, and therefore he's going to be very, very drunk at about 10 o'clock on the Sunday night. So.
For a change.
I have to say, I didn't read that as necessarily I'm definitely not going to be on. I just read that as I'm going to be absolutely hammered. The two could have come together, but it looks like they haven't done, which is probably not a bad thing. So listen, moving on from talking about the WCOAP, Leigh, I'm just going to pop this up on the screen at the moment. So this is what's happening. We're heads up here. What is this, Leigh?
Yeah, so we're heads up in the PLO now. The No Limit Hold'em main event has just concluded. Yuri Jepsen from Germany picked up the win, picking up $650. Beat Adam Bromley heads up. So well done to Adam. Picks up
nice
$400. And Sergio Gomez from Argentina was third, picking up $261. Yeah, we've just lost Matthew Burden in third in this PLO. So currently Maximilian Schneider and Thomas are heads up. Maximilian actually regularly plays APAT events. Certainly a lot of the PLO. I think certainly think that could be his game of choice. Keep an eye on the Turbo as well. We're down to 10 players in that, so we're nearly on a final table on that one as well. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. Andre Tin is actually second in chips in that one as well. So Andre might have a little run as he finished sixth in the main event. So he could have a little run at the top of the table potentially before the night is out. So we will see.
Well, we shall keep an eye on that as the evening goes. I'll leave the table up here in the background. Obviously, guys, football's back, right? Or should I say, more to the point, Premier League's back because we've had no shortage of football. As those of you who watched our live stream last week for 1 minute and 40 seconds will undoubtedly know, no shortage of football through the summer, but the Premier League is back. And of course, there's always a bit of excitement when the Premier League comes back. Who signed who, what new managers are in town, how pre-season has gone, and inevitably who hits the ground running in match day one. So bit of a mixed one, I think, for Leigh and I. Liverpool dropped points at Fulham yesterday, and it's hard to, when you've had a couple of very tight run-ins with Man City, not look at dropping 2 points to Fulham as a bit of a disaster, even if it is match day one. But I think, Leigh, your boys went a step further in losing at home to Brighton. Do tell us, what the hell is going on there?
Yeah, they were pretty awful today. Nothing really much to say. It's pretty much, if you watched any United game last season, it was kind of the same thing. with a new manager and a few new signings. It was the most bizarre thing. Haven't come into the season with very much, expectations. That's for sure. But yeah, I don't know quite what happened in the first half. Loads of possession, couldn't create anything, and gave away 2 softish goals. Really. Resorted in having to bring Ronaldo on after about 50 minutes. He didn't really make much difference. We managed to bundle one in the back of the net somehow, and did have a number of chances. Rashford probably should have scored. Sancho possibly should have scored. Went off at half-time to booze. Sort of went off at full-time to booze, really. Manager saying how big a job it is. I kind of get to the point where I just kind of go, the players aren't probably good enough. Is where we're kind of at with it. That's the situation.
Yeah, I don't know that it's entirely the players' fault, but certainly when you bring a new manager in, and Ten Hag, during preseason seems to do a lot of the right things. He seemed very authoritative. He seemed to get some, really good spins out of players through preseason in some of those early games. The front three, were connecting and scoring goals. But the whole Ronaldo thing, seemed to unnerve him. Ronaldo not being available through preseason, away for reason XYZ, then seemingly very open to wanting to move away to play with a team who was in the Champions League. But then he comes back and United don't want to sell him. But I think more importantly, although maybe not more importantly, but reason B, you just don't seem to have got the right business done in the transfer window thus far, and there was even talk today of you putting in an offer for Marko Arnautovic. It's like you're buying older players again. It just seems really
Arnautovic. No, Arnautovic makes sort of sense with where we're at. I don't actually mind that as such. I think the Ronaldo thing is a mess and it needs resolving one way or the other. Preseason we looked great. How he can honestly think that he can come back in, play 45 minutes of a preseason game, being training at home for family reasons or whatever, and then expect to just come in when you've got a new manager who's integrating and building a new squad and training a new squad in the way he wants to play. At halftime in the Valakai game, he was seen to be criticised because the media are on their backs. So it's a constant thing. And the fact is if it's true, Ronaldo, if Ronaldo genuinely wants to go and play Champions League football for one more year because he thinks he can do that, go off and do it. Get your agent to find a club that's prepared to pay 10 million, 15 million, whatever it is, because we didn't pay that much to get him in the first place. Obviously his wages are massive, but if you really want to go and do that, get on and do it, because it's toxic. It doesn't help the club. We're unfortunate with the Martial injury because he sounds like he was doing okay in preseason. I don't think he's the solution long term by any stretch, but actually it sounds like they were kind of knitted together well. And yeah, but what today was just all about was, Sancho looked like clueless as a player. Didn't look like he had a clue what was going on.
Well, what
Rashford
do you put that down to? Because
I don't know.
Them
I
had
can't.
A good preseason.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Rashford did absolutely nothing. Fernandes did very, very little. Fred and McTominay couldn't string a pass together. We couldn't play through the lines. You couldn't break the first press and then move on through transitions or anything. They just clueless, didn't know what they were doing. Darlow looked absolutely lightweight at right back. Shaw didn't get forward in the slightest. I actually thought Maguire and Martinez actually looked okay together, to be honest. And there were some bright sparks in there. Definitely were. So I thought Martinez was excellent at the back, and I thought towards the end of the game, when we pretty much put everything through Eriksen, looked great. And my take would be, if you don't know what to do with the ball, get it to Eriksen, because he will do something with it.
Yeah,
and so there is signs moving forward. Bringing on, things like we brought on 3 substitutes in the 89th minute, 3 youngsters. which held up time. I mean, if you're going to make those changes to bring some fresh legs on, do it with 10 minutes to go, because to be honest, he took off Sancho, Rashford, and Sancho, Fernandez, and Shaw. Well, you could have done that with 10 minutes to go, because they were woeful for the 80 minutes before that. They really didn't do very much of anything. But it's same as it was last season, pedestrian, no pace moving forward, no looking to move the ball through the phases and get on with it. Everything's slow, everything's pedestrian, sideways passes. Absolutely shocking. And it's really weird, because you'd have thought the new manager coming in would have set up somewhere different and done something different, but maybe it is just simply the fact that we can't get the signings across. The big worry for me is the fact that we are unable to sign the players that I think would improve the squad. If you said, right, who actually is out there that is available, that wants to come to Manchester United and will significantly improve the squad, the list is very, very short. And that's the worry at the moment, is you've got to break out of this. It's no different than Liverpool were 10 years ago, probably, Des, maybe.
Signed Torres that year.
Yeah. If you can get one of those across the line that can make a difference, that's great. But at the moment, the players were looking to do that clearly don't want to come to the club.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Do you sign players that don't want to be there? And that's why I don't mind the Anatovic potential, or somebody of that ilk. Is this has got to be a longer term plan. This can't just be a short term fix to find a solution for this season, because we're not going to break into the top 4 this season with the squad as it is at the moment. We may struggle to actually make top 6, because I think others have strengthened and strengthened well, and we haven't done that. It's early in the season, so it's difficult to say for definite. But certainly, what you're seeing is there's a lot of teams that have strengthened well and are looking good. So we may well struggle in that, which means, what do you do? We don't want to pay over the odds for players. We don't want to pay for mercenary players, because we've had our fingers burnt for the last 6-8 years with that. So you're left in this awkward situation. You've got to trust in the process, trust in the new coach, that he can make that work, bring some of the youngsters through, find the right pieces of the jigsaw to put it together. But it doesn't happen in one transfer window.
No, it doesn't. It does not. Ben, have you watched any of the games? I mean, where's your football heart lie?
Yeah.
North of the border, presumably.
I mean, I know the idea of the sport is who can score the most footballs by the end of the...
Who can score the most footballs?
Whoever gets the most footballs, then they win the league of the football, and they get to be the champion of that league until the next time they play that league again, and someone else scores more footballs than they do.
I love it.
Much as I kind of follow the whole thing, but... it's always just kind of like when everybody else is talking about it, I just kind of nod along and just like, yeah, football. Yeah.
Well, listen, all you have to do, Ben, is just buy one of those Scottish scarves, and you can follow Scotland to your heart's content in Qatar at the upcoming World Cup. Right? Hopefully your guys will do tremendously well. Get some money on them with Paddy Power. I'm telling you now. They score footballs all over.
I would never follow any of Des's sporting tips. I really wouldn't. Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't follow that one.
All the Scottish fans will go there and just spontaneously combust, because we can't deal with 30 degrees up here without everybody melting.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do you Ben? Do you follow any sports at all? Is there sports that you do kind of have an interest in? Have you watched any of the Commonwealth Games or?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's like Commonwealth Games, I'll kind of switch on here and there, it comes on. The Six Nations is normally a big thing whenever it's up here, because Murrayfield's like round the corner. So then we'll make the effort to kind of go along to that. And then I got a couple other friends who are kind of interested in that. I don't know. Yeah, my friend group up here, nobody really kind of follows football or anything like that. I don't know what it is. It's just maybe like, because when we grew up on the West Coast, everybody was just rugby fanatics really, and always just played that. But
are you sure it's not that they're all atheists? Could it be that?
It could be that as well. Like
to be honest, that's quite a safe place to be in Scotland, right?
Yeah, there's too much politics behind the football these days.
Amen.
It's like
Amen.
you've got to put your allegiance to it, and then then you can't go into certain
Yeah.
pubs, you can't go down certain roads. I don't know. It's like it's too much effort. Like, I
Yeah,
just
well, we can't be ruling pubs out of our repertoire, so
Well,
let's just give the
exactly, you
religion
know.
a pass. We'll just
That's
move
it.
by that, right? Well, religion goes, the pubs stay.
Yeah, I like
so-
to keep options open. So you know, it's
Absolutely. So, Leigh, look, a lot of the players who we would have anticipated having a good weekend had a good weekend. Haaland, in particular, looked extremely hot today. Didn't see it, but I know he scored twice. I have seen the goals back. Looked absolutely pinpoint sharp. Spurs did well, albeit Harry Kane didn't score. Chelsea won comfortably. Arsenal won comfortably. Liverpool were perhaps the team that didn't maybe get over the line, albeit Salah did score, Nunez did score. So some of the fantasy managers will have had those players in their teams. How did the first weekend go? I mean, you told us, of course, who our leader is, one Don Logan. Any other surprising teams, or can you talk us through Don's selection?
Yeah, well, we can do. So let's see if we can.
Do you want me to?
We've got the. No, you should be.
Oh wow! Look at that. Yeah.
You should be good. So we can see. So Don ended at top of the leaderboard. 90 points he picked up. I'll tell you. So for Ben, if Ben's not keen on football, trying to explain fantasy football could be a whole new new thing altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, so you pick your best wizard and mage.
Yeah.
Get them to play football, and then whoever gets the most mana wins, and mana's
pretty much that is exactly how it works.
Right.
Yeah,
Cool. I'm on board.
Exactly how it works. Yeah. So Don Logan ended up top after game week 1 with 90 points. Shout out though to Dave Stones in second with 87. Andrew Sherwin, Tom Clark fourth. So I mean, see, there must be something about football in Scotland if Tom Clark is currently fourth. Darren Kirk there in fifth. So let's say loads, but let's say so many names in this. Andy Kingan's there sixth. Phil Coles, friend of the show, who is a bit of a football fantasy whiz.
Fizo,
certainly
the
knows,
Fizo guys.
Knows his stuff. Rob Swindells is in there as well. Dan Williams, who's been on the show recently, he's just heading over to Barcelona for EPT Barcelona next week. Dan, I think, holds the record for changing his team pre-season about 432 times. Before finally making his mind up. But let's have a quick we'll have a quick click in on Don's team. I'm sure he won't mind us doing that. And
look at that. Here we go.
So there you go, Des. So that's who he selected for the first game. I mean, you can talk through that to know that it's where the points were scored. Really, he captained Salah, so that's obviously a sensible thing to do.
Well, I tell you what, you and I had a little tickle on Salah at bonus odds on Sky Bet to get one shot on target. And to be honest, that shot only came in about the 80th minute. I was sweating that one, Leigh.
It took a little bit to get there, but we got there in the end with it. We got paid out on it eventually.
We did indeed. We did indeed. I can't. So unfortunately, my monitor isn't big enough to be able to read.
Okay, so you're basically, I mean, he's got 90 points, but considering he had Jesus, who only picked up 2, Robertson only picked up 1 point, Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle who only picked up 3. So yeah, he's done well to the top of the table, I think, because they're
he's done very well.
Say he's certainly, but I think if you've got Haaland and Salah and he had Kulusevski from Tottenham as well in there, who had a good start to the season. So yeah. So early days though, Des, lots to play for. So we'll see how it pans out. But we'll try and maybe put up the if the leaderboard's been updated on a Sunday night when we go live on the show, we'll try and maybe put up whoever's won that game week up each week on the screen, so you can have a quick look and a chat through that. So there's still heads up in the poker though, so that hasn't.
Fantastic. Well, listen, on the fantasy football thing, as Leigh quite rightly said, he's keeping the entry open for a period longer. So if you want to be involved in this little segment every Sunday night, get your team in, right? Get your team in. You'll have lost your points from week 1, but there are 37 weeks to go. So, do we have prizes in this, Leigh? Is there a cash entry? What's the gig?
Yeah, no. We don't mess about with cash entries as far as, I mean, who deals with cash these days, Des? I mean, no one does, do they? It's not a thing anymore. No, we'll do. We've said it's free to enter, as we're always adding value back to the players. So we'll do some prizes for the first 3 in the league, and there's also a cup that kicks in at some point in the league as well. I think week 32 or something, if anyone's still about, and we'll do a prize for that as well. So a number of chances to get in there. But basically, we'll do this every week. Ben's confirmed he's going to come on the show every week to chat about this.
I'll do some some analysis. Who's got the most footballs that week, and like who my picks are based on who's got the funniest name.
The thing is, though, Ben, because you're a finance guy, aren't you?
Yeah.
So for a living, you're a kind of a finance guy. You're into the numbers, the statistics, analysis, all that kind of thing. This would be right. Seriously, this would be right up your street. It really would.
Yeah, I should. If I could get if I could just get a spreadsheet with all the stats on it, and just pick completely blind based on just pure. I could just moneyball this, and then
do this. Absolutely moneyball it. It's the way to do it.
I'm sure in the Facebook group this evening, Dan Williams posted up a link to some site where he was able to test his team. And they told him in what percentile of, goodness it was and how many points it should pick up and stuff like that. I mean, fantasy football is huge out there. There's so many statistical points, links, tools to be able to assess the validity of your team. But at the end of the day, it's just some random blokes just going to pop up and just whack one in from 40 yards and destroy your score because stats can never tell you that that's going to happen. But there we go. That is the fantasy football, guys. So we're on the break now, Leigh. How are we doing in the turbo?
Yeah, turbo is down to 3 as well. It's absolutely flown by tonight.
Just flying through.
So yeah, I'm trying to just get the exits updated so I can keep an eye on who's going to be top of the leaderboard ladders this week. But it's flying by. They're on a break as well now as well. So as we're 5 to the hour, so we were going to be we're going to be done fairly short and sweet tonight, I think.
Sweet. Listen, Leigh, I had a busy day today. Ben, I had a really busy day today. Today was the annual family games, right? So think Olympics, but with really, really odd games. So we had 10 medal events today in the house and around the house, and I destroyed the family entirely by winning the first 3. I took those medals, the anthems, I did all of that sort of stuff. Absolutely had kids crying everywhere. It was fantastic, but I had an advantage in those events. I'm big and I'm strong, so you just got to take those medals.
Does this include all of the young kids as well?
Oh, everybody. I mean, absolutely. I mean, frankly, the younger the better, right? I got a slightly better chance against the younger kids. I mean, they're weaker, they're slightly less motivated by the whole thing. But you got to do it. It's gold, right?
Won?
I started by winning the long pitch. Which sounds like something that one might score some footballs at, but it had nothing to do with that at all. It was about like tossing poker chips across the room at a target. I took that one down pretty comfortably, and we went on at some of the events. I can't tell you.
Tossing poker chips at a target.
Well, we had a carpet, right? There's a carpet in the hallway, right? And the carpet ends at a point, so you've got to toss a chip to get as close to that end point. Right, it's probably across, I'm going to say, 20, 25 feet. And you go through with 5 rounds. There's a scoring mechanism. That was just event 1. Event 7 or event 8 was the high toss. Now, it wasn't too late at night, Ben, right? I don't want you to think the wrong thing here. It was, we had the long toss and we had the high toss. It was just you go to the top of the stairs and you got to land it on a certain, step and stuff. But, my kids are, like, remarkably competitive. They were very, very, very upset when, I was winning all of those events at the start, but I got gotten back later on as the evening went on. Yes, and, eventually at the end of the evening, there was a ring on the bell. And do you know who it was? It was the Amazon man with the 24 gold medals that I'd ordered. He eventually showed up, and I awarded these medals. Obviously, I had a lot of them myself. I don't want to brag or anything. I had a really good series, But
I don't want to brag, but let's just bring up the medal leaderboard so we can see.
Yeah, the Duffy leaderboard.
I suppose. Look, I might have slightly exaggerated some of this, but we did have a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun you can have just by messing about with strange little games, which is basically how a lot of people approach the WCOAP, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm just waiting for the first comment in the chat box that says, "Is Ben all right with the fact that he didn't get invited?"
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Tripling.
so there's no competition basically. That's fine. It's fine.
I'll tell you what, no competition. I'm certainly not going to invite anyone who's older, bigger, or any of that stuff than I am. Tripling is saying out there, Des, you've been playing Lockdown Tiddlywinks. Well, that's something I'm going to write down because we did have a game in Connect 4. Connect 4 was in there, but we didn't have Tiddlywinks. Paul Haycock, right? He is out there. Benny is suffering in silence. Paul, remember, it's good to talk. It's good to talk to people if you're suffering in silence. He did say that website rated my team at 95%. My 11-year-old beat me by 24 points. Absolute bullshit. Now, Paul, it sounds to me as if you're playing the wrong games with your 11-year-old. Talk to me after the show, and I will advise you on some games that you can, in fact, dominate your 11-year-old with. So there we go.
Well, maybe his 11-year-old put a team in and they were 98%. So it's like,
it's fantastic.
It is good. There are people that would seriously spend far too much time on these fantasy sports. I think they originated from the States, didn't they? I think they're very much into their statistics when it comes to sports. You mentioned Moneyball, and the kind of the book and the film are a great example of where they just, to a certain extent, it's just all about statistics on how they go about picking their sports teams.
They used to call them roto games over there. I'm not quite sure why they were roto games, but fantasy games.
Something to get like round the gambling or something like that, because there's a lot of states that you can't do any kind of gambling. But then there's like stuff like FanDuel and stuff like that where you can do sports betting and stuff like that through that, but it's like fixed sit and go formats or something like that, I think, which is how they get around it.
Well, they're licensed. They're not getting around it. Certainly FanDuel licensed over here as DraftKings are in the States. The same DraftKings is enormous over there now. Enormous, and leading the way in sports betting. Of course, if I'm not mistaken, FanDuel is a part of Flutter, which includes Paddy Power and Sky Bet and Stars and all of that.
Is it that, and that's effectively pool? It's effectively pool betting where so this is the market, you make your selections. If you're score the highest in the pool that have entered that market, you win a prize.
So it's not a bet. It's not a bet as such. You're betting on your selection being better than other people's selection. Yeah, exactly. So you're kind of like all buying into like a sit and go kind of thing,
like
rather
poker,
than like putting the odds against like the house or something like that, and then they've got to cover that bet. You can't. Only the pool will be paid out. It's not like they're making money off of putting odds up and stuff like that. And then you're paying FanDuel directly. They're just providing a service, and I'm guessing taking a rake off of that.
That's exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. So, the Chinese are now surrounding Taiwan. We obviously have the Russian thing going on in Ukraine. It's all getting a bit much, isn't it?
Oh, bloody hell, we've moved from... Wow.
Let's just move off of fantasy sports.
That was a natural segue.
Reality sports.
I genuinely thought he was going, and China, and that they're into their sports betting. No, we've just gone straight
in there. I mean, I'm not against a good war every now and again. I mean,
let's talk. We're talking politics.
Crikey.
Is this another one of the home games or like the Duffy games?
I got to tell you, Ben, our viewing figures just haven't been the same since Trump was taken out of office. It's sort of it. In fact, let me just pop that up there so we can remember the good times. There you go. You've got COVID Trump. You've got Boris. You've got the cast of what were they called? Leigh, that Inspector Detective guy, Line of Duty.
Yeah.
Jesus,
Ben Cops. It's all about
Mary
Ben
and the wee
Cops.
donkey. That's absolutely. You've even got Tony Trippier up there just for the absolute. You've got them all up there. you miss a big old international news story. Do we think this Chinese Taiwan thing is this going to go on and on, or is this just an annual show of force from China, and they will sort of withdraw back again, and we'll all go quiet? What do we think is going to happen there?
Well, was it not like provoked? Because Nancy Pelosi went over to Taiwan, and then they thought that, oh well, we can just kind of do a show of force just now while one of the third most powerful Americans are over there.
So do you
politically
think,
anyway? But...
Do you think what's going on there is, the Americans in a show of force, an incredible show of force, sent Nancy Pelosi out into the field, and the Chinese retaliated by sending their entire war machine?
Yeah, it seems like an appropriate response back. It might be a bit of an overplay on that one. It's like.
Do you think that the Americans? The Americans sat there thinking, they didn't read our bluff at all. We can see their hand now. And what we'll do is we'll send out the January the 6th crew. That'll sort them out. We'll have to see.
That'll be the next. Yeah, that's the standing militia, and they can invoke
I think so.
Second Amendment
We'll send out the Proud Boys
China.
next. That's what we'll do. Send out the Proud Boys to take on China. Listen, guys, we'll meet you in North Korea, right? Don't bring any sharp implements. We'll do this mano a mano in the forest of North Korea. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good mix-up. Well, you got a million standing army in China versus how many Proud Boys, 3%ers, and there's a couple others in there somewhere. But
they could probably get about 2,000 of them. I mean, obviously some of them are going to look a bit odd and move probably a bit funny, but they'll put up a decent fight.
Yeah, I think it'd be worthwhile. I think it could kill a couple of birds with one stone. I think it's a good matchup. What could go wrong?
Leigh, listen, seriously, how much further is this going to go? You're a sensible man of the world. You know these things. Well, should we be afraid?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just one thing following on from another at the moment, isn't it? So and I guess it's all still a little bit. Well, it's halfway around the world. Although Ukraine was a little bit closer to the doorsteps, I guess, as to what's going on. But I don't know what's happening at the moment. Ever since kind of COVID hit, it just seems to be one thing after another to fill the media channels with doom and gloom and things you should worry about. And I don't know whether that's a tactic to try and kind of constantly keep the public.
I think
with something on the mind. If it's not COVID, then it's Brexit happening. Then it's supply issues. Then it's Ukraine, and then we're now obviously on water shortages as well, and electricity prices going up, and all
Wigglesworth on two outers. It's all happening out there. It's all coming to a boil, isn't it?
It's the next buzz. It's the next high profile. It's the next story. Because I remember because when Ukraine kicked off, you'd never heard anything more about COVID, and then we've been doing highest peak levels,
and we're just working our way. We're working our way through. I mean, that seems to be the way it is, and they occasionally drop in who the next prime minister is going to be, and we have a bit of a debate about that.
We haven't got long left, Leigh. We've only got tonight. Where would we start with that one?
There's only okay.
Liz and Rishi.
You're
going to declare your hand. I can tell you like China. You're going to declare early.
I'm going to absolutely declare my hand. I desperately want Liz Truss to be the next prime minister. As soon as she's sworn in as the next prime, whatever the hell they do, I don't care what happens after that. But Jen and I worked through the logic of all of this back at Christmas, right? So December time, and we came up with a logic, and therefore I lumped on as much as Sky Bet would let me on the next Conservative leader and the next Prime Minister after Boris Johnson. Yeah. And if I told you now, Liz Truss is currently 10-1 on to be the next Prime Minister. Yeah. I got some great odds at Christmas.
So let me get this right, Leigh. I introduced this segment and your inclusion within it as, Leigh, you're a man of the world. You know what you're talking about. Please reassure us that we're heading in the right direction. And you're now telling me You're now telling me that you want the Prime Minister selected based on who you've got some really good odds on from Sky Bet.
Des. I predicted Liz Truss would be the next Prime Minister 8 months ago. Yeah, I mean, you've got to trust what I'm saying here. I know what I'm talking about.
Leigh, we're only a few short weeks out from the result. She's a hot favourite, and I still can't see how it's going. How is it going to happen, Leigh?
They will vote her in, honestly. I will get paid.
Why?
And I will get paid, and then we can have a general election, get somebody decent in. That's fine.
Just for 10 minutes, she can come in, and then and then a snap election. Like that's
she can go back to trying to get new pork markets or whatever it is she does.
Cheese, I think that was
Is it cheese? Yeah.
Like
it's like she's gone out to everybody and said, like, free nuts. Right, come, free nuts. Just come and grab a nut. Just vote for me. Right, that's the way.
Yeah, but we genuinely we spent far too much time over Christmas discussing the logic of it all, and genuinely came up to the conclusion that we thought she would be next in eventually, based on all the runners and riders. There is logic to it. In how we got to this conclusion. I won't bore you all with it now, but yeah, at far better odds than 10 to 1 on where she is now.
Did Penny Mordaunt, did she feature in your assessments? Because she seemed to be running pretty close.
But she did cause me concern when they were three out, and so I had 2 bets on. I had one on who would be the next Conservative leader, and one who would be the next Prime Minister, and I actually cashed out on one of them to clear a profit. So when they were 3 out.
You're telling me you had to lay Liz Truss? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Dear, oh dear, if this gets out, I'm not liking her chances at all, Leigh. I got to tell you. Well, at least you didn't lay Rishi. Yeah. I mean, crikey.
It could have been lots. But it's surprising. You'd have thought, if you were looking at the two of them, as to which one you'd go, they genuinely would vote for as to be likely to do a better job. The trouble is they're arguing about things that don't really matter when it comes to picking which one of them is going to be the next Conservative leader.
Yeah,
because ultimately they've still got a manifesto, and they've still got to see that through as it is. So whichever one of them it is, it doesn't really matter to a certain extent. What I think the British public would want to see is, well, we've been there with a leader that's lied and twisted stories and whatever. So you're looking for somebody that's not going to do that, and I'm not quite convinced that any of them.
Yeah, the problem
actually
is the
fit that bill.
Conservatives are in charge. So you're kind of.
Yeah, you're kind of like, well, whichever one of them it is you're going to get, you kind of get the feeling they're going to, if they're currently nailed on 10 to 1 on for somebody that can go, yeah, that thing we announced yesterday. Well, we didn't really announce that. They misunderstood what I was going to do, and it never really happened in the first place. Can we now move on? And it happened. It just got forgotten about.
Listen,
you think, well, what chance have you got really?
Listen, Leigh, I'm convinced if I could buy a big green bus and put on the side, right, £750 million in APAT guarantees, I could be the next Prime Minister of the UK, I have to say. It just depends on how big your bus is. Right, frankly,
to be honest, you don't even need a bus. You just need to go and hold the event in California, and at Hustlers Casino, and you can pretty much get away with anything you like then, can't you? You can,
so I heard about this, Leigh. Leigh is, of course, referring to Hustlers Casino offering a staggeringly big guarantee. Well, 250k, I mean, big, but not staggeringly big. And they weren't going to hit that number, so they decided, you know what we're going to do, guys? We're going to just remove that guarantee, but you can just play for your own money the following day. It has sort of happened like that, Leigh, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't go down well with the community.
No, it didn't really. It was, so they played the day one of the day ones, and qualified so many players through, and obviously the numbers didn't look great, and so they made that decision, and it didn't go down well. To be fair to them, I think when they realised how much of a complete and total balls up that decision was, and how it was reacted by they have actually come back and held their hands up and gone, yeah, we screwed this up. I've watched the videos that they've they've put out, and they're doing they're giving a full refund to everybody that have played the competition or the tournament already. They're also still allowed those that had made the day 2 to come back and play for the prize pool as it was. And they're also putting a free roll on and adding some value into something else further down the line. So I kind of guess they've kind of gone, all right, we've really screwed up here from a PR point of view and for the community. And so they've done something to try and make it right. Whoever sat down and thought that was a good idea in the first place to do that. I think Rob Young was on one of the Twitter things and just said, welcome to running live poker tournaments. Sometimes you just got to take these things on the chin when you make a mistake. So,
well, I suppose they did react reasonably quickly, but that was because the pressure of a lot of people were on top of them. It was a pretty bad mistake. I mean, I think it's they're not the first to make that mistake, and I think they were rather stupid to make it, and that will not be forgotten about, I suspect, which is a shame, as I understand it's a really good card room. I
think it will get forgotten about pretty quickly. I mean, the poker community is wonderful, isn't it? You look at how they deal with online providers. It all kicks off over something because an online site does, and all of a sudden, then that online site maybe 3 months down the line puts on a ridiculously good series with a good guarantee, and all those poker players that went, I'm never playing there again, very quickly depositing and back playing on the site. They're a fairly fickle bunch, I think, poker players. Ben, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, just go where the deal is. That's like, whoever's got the best deal. Don't just kind of forgot that they got shafted on that time 6 months ago or something like that. It's like, oh, what's this new shiny thing now? Yeah, let's go to that.
Yeah. Oh, you're putting a guarantee on. Oh, or added value. Oh, great. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't, because that FOMO in the poker community is just insane, isn't it? Because you don't want to be the one that goes, I didn't play that one because it was I felt morally obliged to duck out of it. No, of course you don't. You'll quietly play it, whatever you might say at the time.
Listen, Simon's out there saying he bet on Rishi. So we're going back to politics. Bet on Rishi 2 years ago. He cashed out with 5 left in. That's interesting. Because Rishi, of course, was a super strong candidate to go heads up. I would have thought when 5 were left back in. And
I'm assuming cashed out on with a nice, we'll have looked at the number and gone, because if you'd bet on, although Rishi was probably 2 years ago, was probably still favourite. Oh no, would he have been or not?
I wouldn't have thought so.
He
was pretty yellow.
Jeremy Hunt have been probably the favourite maybe 2 years ago?
Well,
Rishi was always being groomed as probably a prime minister in waiting, whether it was the next one or the one after. I still think he will be. I just think, I think in a way, I think he might actually dodge a bullet here.
The timing is bad. The timing is bad. I completely agree with that. I think he's been very impressive, personally. In terms of the way he's presented himself and his knowledge seems to be pretty impressive, but obviously the strategy that he's preaching is not something that people want to hear right now. And I think it's like
when he tries to be the common man and then just do the basic stuff and then can't work what was it? He couldn't work one of the electronic tills or something like that.
Oh, the chip and pin. It was. So do you remember the one where he went? They did a photo opportunity where he was filling up his tank of
that was
petrol,
that one.
but he had to borrow somebody's car to use that for the photo opportunity in the first place, and then he went in to pay and didn't know how to use a contactless card to pay for the petrol.
It takes me back. It takes me back. Do you remember Ed Miliband going back a few years ago? He didn't know how to work a bacon sandwich.
Yeah.
These politicians. I mean, they are a race apart. It has to be said.
But there are plenty of politicians out there that genuinely, say just pretty normal in what they do day-to-day lives. I think the likes of Rishi is in a situation where the role that he's in means that he's fairly distant from what goes on in day-to-day life, and of course he's also massively well off as a family, because his wife comes from a lot of money as well, family wealth. So So yeah, his realization is probably he doesn't have a lot to worry about. It's interesting. I don't know whether you've watched any of the Arsenal All or Nothing, Des, that's on Prime.
I watched
Prime.
I watched the first episode. Haven't really gotten into
Oh,
it yet. Time.
the
Is
third,
it cold?
the third episode, building up to the game against Liverpool.
Oh, I mean, I've seen that clip.
It's some of the most priceless
I
sports
can't wait.
documentary you're ever going to see in your life. It's absolutely, it is a beautiful mixture of David Brent and I'm not quite sure what else you throw in there. It's absolute genius. It really is.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
But it was interesting. One of those where they were talking about, I think one of the Arsenal players lives with it's a Tierney, so a Scottish player, Ben.
Kieran Tierney, right?
He'd moved down to London to play for Arsenal and had brought his mate, who's a chef, down to be his personal chef for him. So they sort of lived together in an apartment in London, and his personal chef, who's now become the chef at Arsenal or something like that. But of course, footballers that can afford to basically have a personal chef that cooks them every night. I mean, completely distanced from what the normal people do on a day-to-day basis, isn't it? It's a different world. Yeah.
Oh, you got to get me some of that. I have to say that would be nice. Look forward to getting into that. Just haven't had a lot of time this weekend, but I have seen some of the clips on social media, particularly the one in relation to training before the Liverpool game. That did tickle a lot of Liverpool fans, I have to say.
Of course, the other thing is, I was thinking, Des, is we're this is the first week back, and we're not talking about where were you when the non-active shooter happened in Vegas, because Ben obviously wasn't in Vegas this time, but I've spent time in Vegas with Ben. I think we were both on the same Grosvenor trip that you were talking about with Blair. And what did you make of the whole World Series and Vegas? And I don't know whether you picked up on or heard about the stories of the shooter or in the last couple of shows. Because I know you've not been. You had a bit of a sniffle, haven't you, in the past?
Yeah, I was a bit like under the weather.
Yeah.
Because was this the one where they threw the brick through the MGM
That's exactly
one, and then everybody kind of like
and panicked down the strip? Yeah.
No, I mean, I saw a couple of things about it, because I think I was kind of like, look, I've got like Vegas posts that pop up now and again because I'm planning to go there in November. But because there was like one on Fremont Street that actually happened, and then there was one in the brick through the window at the MGM, and then I think recently there was just one at the Mirage where someone got shot there in the. I think that was like last 2 or 3 days or something.
Oh wow, really? Okay,
I didn't know that.
So yeah, this is American culture though. This is the problem now. It's just like, someone hears like a loud bang or something like that, and you think, that's quite possibly something that could go off or shooting or something like that. It's just getting more and more mental, and then it's you see it more and more in the press these days with stuff happening. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But it's one of these chain effects. You just need one person to react, and then someone will react off that reaction, and then it just kind of escalates from there as well. So yeah, you could look at it. You could look at it as a one-off thing, and someone's like, "Oh, a window broke," and someone overreacted, kind of thing. But I think when you're in the States and then you see a lot of people panicking, yeah, I could see that being a totally justified response to that.
Is your November trip poker related one, or just going out for a break and might play a bit, or what's?
I mean, I think the plan is to kind of go out and like take a break and do some poker out there. A friend he's never been out before, so he was just saying they planned it like during COVID time, and then it's just been like pushed back, and then it was just like November, and I was like, oh yeah, I got like a free week then, I could join you for that as well. So there's like 3 of us going out for that, and then the hope is just get up, play some poker. Do some like hopeful deep runs, and then just see what kind of festivals are on while we're kind of out there. Because that's the thing, it's like always like, you just kind of check the month before, and then like, the Venetian's got something on, or like Planet Hollywood. I think, last time we were out, like Planet Hollywood had some ridiculous like 2 million guarantee or something like that. And then the Venetian had a series on as well. But you just always kind of need to check for festivals.
I
Just
think
before you
I
go out.
think the autumn is becoming far more popular for going out and getting some poker. I mean, the one thing I will say about the time we spent out in Vegas in the summer was it was ridiculously hot. It was packed. I mean, I've never seen Vegas as busy with people, to the point where actually there were times it just I couldn't be bothered. It was too much. And I know Pete Wigglesworth is heading out in the autumn. He's going out for a little bit, and I know others have spoken about it as well, about saying, well, trying to fit in, because you say there are some nice things in there. And of course, from your point of view, most of the American sports season are back in season, so of course you'll be able to catch all of those teams in Vegas now, because Vegas has got ice hockey and American football now. And we went to the new stadium. It's very impressive. Very, very impressive. Even if you just wanted to do the tour, it's quite. I think it's the second most expensive sports stadium in the world.
Wow.
It's absolutely incredible. But loads more going. I think the autumn might be a good time to.
I think
to
a
go.
bunch of the guys were talking about going out at the beginning of October or something like that. I think I was speaking to Jonathan Rees and stuff like that. I think there was a group of them going out at the beginning of October for that. But I think I might be trying to Malta. I think there's a Battle of Malta at the beginning of October.
Yeah.
Might be trying that.
Yeah.
And then there's the APAT one at the end of October.
Yeah.
But
do you think the World Series is as much of a draw still for players?
Yeah, I think it's still the pinnacle. Like, it's still the pinnacle of like poker when people say like they want to get a World Series bracelet. Well, beside an APAT bracelet, I mean, if you can't get the World Series bracelet, there's the APAT bracelets instead. But no, I mean, that's it. It's like, it's still the big thing. I think it used to be like back in the day, it was like the biggest thing, and then I think more places are doing more festivals these days. Like, definitely. Because I saw like the UK IPTs coming back now as well. They've been doing like games, so that'll be quite good. But it used to be like, it was just local casino games back in the day when you were doing, £10 rebuys and getting 500 chip starting stacks, and it was hard to get like a big game these days. But I think the World Series is still like the staple of like the big events out there. Everybody wants to kind of do that at some point. I haven't played that Colossus when we went out that time 5 years back, but I need to try and think properly about doing some WSOP events.
Well, they've added more for recreational players in as well.
Exactly.
And I guess they've got to, because whether you like it or not, most countries in the world are struggling with inflation at the moment. The US is no different. And I don't know whether it's a combination of inflation plus a while since I'd been last, plus the fact that they've been on lockdown for a couple of years. But boy, have they put the prices up for across the board for most things. It seems to be more expensive. The only thing that actually has got they finally seem to have curtailed is taxis to and from the airport, where they've now got it fixed pricing for whichever hotel you go to, instead of what's the phrase they used to use? I can't think what it was now. They send you
freeway or something.
They send you around the houses. I'll get you to that hotel, and 2 hours later, and you're still in the taxi.
It's like when you're looking at a map, and then it's like the airport, and it's like, I need to go like a block over, and then it's like, why is this like, why is this like the same price for me to get from Edinburgh to Glasgow, or like, it's like, why is this a 40-minute trip? I'm looking at Google Maps right now, and it's like, I could walk it if it wasn't like 120 degrees outside. I mean, that's how they get you. You're paying for the air conditioning. That's basically what it is.
I did a ridiculous amount of walking in Vegas. I totted it up the other day. I didn't play much poker. I should make that clear. So I think we were out there for 9 days. 9 days of which one day would have been on a plane, and another day I don't think I even left the hotel room actually. But so I did over 100 kilometers walking in 7 days.
What?
It's one of those things you don't realize how much you actually do. It's like, oh, it's just up the strip a wee bit, and then you're like 45 minutes later.
I think it was one of the mornings I said to Paul, I'm going to go. I've been recommended a show to go and see by a guy, really interested, that I was sat on the plane on the way out with. So this guy was flying, a British guy flying back out to Vegas because he works out there. So what do you do then? He's working on the new show at the Wynn to replace Le Rêve,
Wow.
the Dream, which has been going for a long time, and they closed that down just before lockdown. So Paul and I saw that show when we were the time before we were out, and it was spectacular, really impressive. But he's working. He wouldn't tell me what he does exactly or anything like that. Was really secretive about it, but he said it should be launching towards the end of the year, but it'll be a really big budget thing. But I said to him, I said, well, out of interest, if you were going to go, what would you recommend to go and see? And he recommended a Cirque du Soleil show called K.A., which I'd never even heard of.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I'd never heard of it
for ages, hasn't it?
Yeah, been running for a very, very long time at the MGM Grand. And so I thought, well, okay, if this guy's recommending it, we'll go and see it. We did go and catch it on the penultimate night or so we were there. And extraordinary.
People are jumping all over the auditorium and stuff.
The staging setup is insane. It's the stage at one point. Wouldn't want to ruin it for anyone, but the stage at one point goes vertical, and you're watching what they're doing as if you're watching it from overhead. It's just the most amazing thing. Yeah, really, really, really good. So yeah, but I'd walked up there from the Cosmopolitan, just did a big route trip round, and pretty much went from as far up as kind of New York's right down, ended up right down as far as Resorts World, all in one day sort of thing. So it was I did probably more miles than I should have done.
To be honest, you could have walked 75 kilometers indoors alone, Leigh. I mean, the bloody casinos are they're that big. Listen, we've just lost an event, so I think that
we have. That was the last one. Thomas from Ireland. It's a double Irish win tonight, Des. Because,
fantastic.
Thomas picked up the win in the PLO, and Stephen Hanlon won the Turbo Knockout. So we're done. So as I kind of predicted, Peter Taborski from the Czech Republic was top of the leaderboard going into today. Didn't add any points on, but he's managed to stay there. Dylan Herbert does stay in second place. And I said I thought Andre Tin might have a little bit of a run with 2 cashes tonight. Well, he'd already had 1 cash from earlier on in the week, so he's ended up in third place. So he's going to pick up double tickets.
Nice,
David Clark from the UK picks up double tickets, and Tamas Szabo from Hungary picks up double tickets. Mr. Wigglesworth is in the top 20, so he's now up to step 5. Des, we're going to have to keep an eye on him, or find a way of nobbling him somehow so we can't play next week. Maybe find some solution. That pesky Tony Ross from Ilfracombe, he's finished in 10th, has managed to be in the top 5 again. But other than that, there's Eddie finished in the top 20, so he's going to move up a step as well. But all the others are step 1. So we've got off quite lightly, I think, for another week. So Simon Lawler's saying outside. Quite a lot of it was outside, but not completely, because it was bloody hot in Vegas. So that's us done for the week.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I think we're gonna shut this thing down, folks. So, without further ado, big thank you to Ben for sharing our evening. Lovely to have you on, my friend. Let's not wait till your hair is too long before we get you back on again. Right. In the meantime, do some studying up on scoring footballs, because we will be testing you when you do come back on that very skill. Leigh, I think that's it for this week. The guys will start again tomorrow evening with Leaderboard Ladders. That will run all the way through next weekend. Leigh and I will be back on Sunday night. Hopefully we'll be joined by, somebody young and talented to make up for our shortcomings. And we'll do the whole thing again. So until then, folks, we shall be saying adieu. Have a great week. Night-night.
Cheers.